What's going on everyone, how are you doing today? It's Inga Roleplay once again, and today I want to refresh one of the oldest builds I've ever did in this game. I think it might be one of the first builds I actually did, along with some Witch Doctor builds, which is the Bul-Kathos Wrath of the Waste Whirlwind build. The build has been buffed also on PTR, and the upcoming season 12 it will be among the fucking top. So what have changed to the build is the 6 piece has been buffed, now does up to 3000% increased damage to the Whirlwind, as well as the Bul-Kathos source has been buffed. They now generate up to 15 Fury, which was up from 10 Fury. So now we can drop the Weapon Master passive, as well as during Whirlwind we gain 45% increased attack speed and movement speed, which is up from 30, which is massive buffs, along with the buffed Skullgrass Spring, which is mandatory for the Whirlwind. It's also been buffed, is now rolls with up to 400% increased Whirlwind damage. So how do you play this build? You know, it's pretty hard to explain this build simply because it's so old, and I will explain it just in case you never played Whirlwind and you're just gonna play the Barb for the first time. So it's 6-piece Wrath of the Waste set. The helm should be strength, hit chance, and Whirlwind damage. Whirlwind can roll on the helm and the boots here, but you can roll leave just vitality because it's 1000 wit on the ancient. It's pretty good to have. Just I have strength, wit, and hit chance. You can get Whirlwind here. The chest is strength, wit, and life. The shoulder strength, wit, and area damage. And cooldown reduction, you need to aim to about 40 to 45 cooldown reduction to have the permanent Wrath of the Berserker, which is very important. Another second priority is the area damage, which is extremely powerful in this build because it stacks with the channeling spells really good. The gloves are strength, hit damage chance, and area damage as well. However, I prefer leaving vitality here, but if you have a lot of paragons and have a lot of toughness and no problem surviving shit, you can just roll strength, hit damage chance, and area damage here. The pants are strength, wit, and all res. The boots are strength, wit, all res, and Whirlwind damage here, like boots, and the Whirlwind is mandatory here. The 2 rings are Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, which should have attack speed, hit chance, and cooldown. Another ring is Convention of the Elements, which is hit damage, hit chance, and area damage here. We have the Hellfire Amulet as well, and we're on the physical rune, Blood Funnel. Here, the Dust Devil's rune is given us to us by the set. So the perfect Hellfire Amulet should be Fizz, hit damage, and chance. We also run Nemesis Bracers. We changed Ancient Path and Defenders from the past we used. Now we roll with Nemesis Braces because, you know, damage reduction is not really that much of a concern now. More concern is damage now. We need to push to the higher rifts. So Nemesis Braces are one of the best bracer options out there. Should roll with Fizz, strength, wit, and hit chance. The belt is the old good Pride of Casus. Just try to get ancient with strength, wit, all res, and life here. Secondary is not an option, is not mandatory option anymore, simply because we actually drop Ancient Path to Defender. So rolling off this chance to freeze was a real pain in the ass in the past. Now we just need to get strength, wit, all res, and life, and just as max ignore pain duration as possible. Unfortunately, I don't have an ancient with 6-second ignore pain, so I just run this. Legendary gems are pain enhancer because they stack tremendously and help towards trash clearing insanely fast with the channeling spell. Pain enhancer out damages pretty much everything at around 20 stacks in this game, especially for channeling spells. Another gem is the Bane of the Stricken to help with the Reef Guardian and single target. And the third and one of the most important is Taeguk. It goes towards your shit damage and gives 20% increased armor as well. Now you may be wondering why no Bane of the Trap. The Bane of the Trap is still good. You can still use it, especially on the lower rifts when you do like gem ups and farming and shit. But unfortunately, the Bane of the Trap is completely useless against Juggernauts, and this is the big deal because, you know, Juggernauts are pretty often in the rift, so you cannot slow them down, stun or whatever, freeze them. It's all fucking garbage. So Bane of the Trap is basically worthless, and since we channel a lot, so Taeguk is like the best option instead of Bane of the Trap in the Whirlwind build. As the weapons is the old Bul-Kathos source, and the stats should be just area damage, cooldown reduction, area damage, cooldown reduction, and it will be absolutely GG if you manage to get attack speed here as well. So attack speed, area damage and cooldown is what you need to aim for, simply because it's a channeling build, and the more attack speed you have, the more break points you will get and the more damage per second you will do. But you know, I'm a scrub, I run with this. The skills are Whirlwind on the left button, Blood Funnel, this is the source of our healing, and we gain the Dust Devil's Rune from the set. On the right button is Ignore Pain, Ignorance is Bliss, and paired together with the Pride of Cassius and some cooldown reduction that we have, this is pretty much 100% uptime here. And this is also Ignore Pain, Ignorance is Bliss, which gives us life per Fury span, and we spend Fury all the time, so this is just another source of healing and damage reduction. Threatening Shout Filter, this is a buff, and enemies take 25% increased damage for 6 seconds when they shout at them. This is very good. You can go with the Demoralize if you want to taunt enemies towards you. That's pretty much a lot of options here. Here is Warcry Veterans Warning. I decided to drop my Ground Storm instead of the old Veterans Cry, Warcry Veterans Warning, simply for toughness issues. I've been dying left and right in this Great Rift 98 that I cleared. But Ground Storm is still good if you want to group shit. Ground Storm, Ranging Smash, especially with Ancient Potent Defenders, can be a pretty decent option for the hardcore of a grouping with Ancient with APDs. Another option here is actually the Overpower, Crushing Advance for damage reduction, or the Killing Spree for the damage as well. I even managed to use Revenge, Best Service Cold. It also increases the crit chance by 8% for 6 seconds, which is pretty solid. So this is not bad at all for damage. Another button here is Wrath of the Berserker Insanity. This is mandatory, and this is what our Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac works towards the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker, and this is why we stack cooldown massively on the build. Now, Battle-Urge Bloodshed is another source of damage as well. Increases our hit chance, increases our damage, as well as deals damage equal to 20% of your recent critical hits to the enemies within 20 yards. This is like AoE damage around as well. Passives are Bul-Kathos to help with the cooldown of the Wrath of the Berserker. Rampage, Damage, Nerves of Steel is a passive good to survive, especially when you recover from the recent death. Berserker Rage, since we are almost full all the time on the Fury. And also Ruthless is mandatory, and I have it on my Hellfire. If you don't have the Hellfire Amulet, I recommend dropping either Nerves of Steel or Berserker Rage for the Ruthless. And another option instead of Hellfire Amulet is actually the Eye of the Eight Lich. It's the second best in slot amulet for the Barbarian build, simply because it boosts toughness by almost 30%, which is exceptionally strong against the ranged enemies, which are extremely pain in the ass for the build. So this is pretty much it, and like I said, it's extremely important to stack some CDR as well as area damage in the build. And one thing that I really want to note is that with the recent buff to the Bul-Kathos, Whirlwind gained 45% increased attack speed, and I know for a fact that Ishtvan's Pearl Blades are pretty, impressive. They just give more damage to a single target, and Ishtvan's Pearl Blades Whirlwind build is very, very popular right now for the last year. But with the recent buff to the Bul-Kathos swords, I believe that Bul-Kathos has a chance to be right there near the Ishtvan's Whirlwind build, simply because this is multiplicative, and in density the difference between the Ishtvan's and the Bul-Kathos is really slim. I cleared a Great Rift 98 with both the Bul-Kathos setup as well as the Ishtvan's Pearl Blade setup, and honestly I believe they're really close now. This is like the very close competitive setups right now. So if you don't have the good Ishtvan's Pearl Blades, you can absolutely go with the Bul-Kathos. They are much more affordable as drops. And another thing that I want to say is that don't just spam blindly all these skills here on the skill bar, simply because the way Obsidian Ring works. Reduce the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. When we spend resource, Obsidian Ring starts working towards one of the remaining skills on cooldown. And when if we have one skill on cooldown, like for example Wrath of the Berserker, it's just cooldowns one skill. when you have 4 skills on cooldown, it randomly selects 1 skill every second and just reduces the cooldown of that skill by 1 second as well. So what I want to say is don't just spam shout and work right like retarded. Even though they are available, don't just fucking spam them. Spam only ignore pain and Wrath of the Berserker when it's available. These are the 2 skills you need to spam all the time. These 2, just leave them alone. Just press them only when necessary, like when you have huge density and elite nearby. Press threatening shout, and when this basically the work rate is down, press this one up. That's it. Let the Obsidian Ring walk towards the Wrath of the Berserker exclusively, and this is like the only way to make the Wrath of the Berserker uptime 100%. So this is it. So this is it. Thanks for watching and see you soon. And another thing that I want to say in the cube, sorry I forgot, is the Furnace in the cube, Mantle of Channeling in the cube, just like in the old version of the build. I guess 25% increased damage when we spin and 25% reduced damage when we spin, so there's a buff and a debuff. And the Skull Grasp as well, and it's the buff version now on the Peter, and it will go live I guess with the same shit. So this is the shit in the cube and it's unchanged from the past builds. Now this is all guys, thanks for watching and see you soon.